Are you someone who's so busy that you can't keep up with your favorite shows before the next season drops? Do you need a refresher on some of today's hottest films and TV series with an eye for what's next? Well, look no further, because Complex's The Pre-Cap has you covered. My name is Khal, and I'm Deputy Editor of Pop Culture at Complex, and your host. The Pre-Cap is a series where I help you, the fans, stay up to speed on the latest shows and movies that are coming your way. And for this installment of The Pre-Cap, I'll be getting you ready for Season 2 of Power Book 2, Ghost, which premieres Sunday, November 21st, only on Starz and the Starz app. The first Power series, which comes to us from executive producers Curtis 50 Cent Jackson and Courtney A. Kemp, has a number of different characters, plot lines, and history. Ghost immediately picks up where 6 seasons of Power left off, continuing the St. Patrick saga with a new main protagonist, Tariq St. Patrick, as he heads to college with a choice: live life on the straight and narrow, or continue to find his way in the world of organized crime. Tariq's mother, Tasha, wanted him to live his own life and become his own man, which is why she urged him to go away to college.
Tariq, listen to me. Go to school. Live your life.
So if you're completely unfamiliar with the Power universe, sit tight as I recap key points in Season 1, identify the major players, explain everyone's motivations, and most importantly, find out what we can expect in Season 2. Oh, and just so we're clear, we cannot discuss Season 1 of Ghost without spoiling parts to come in Season 2, and likely some parts of the original series Power. All right, let's dive into the Pre-Cap. Now, as I pointed out earlier, Tariq St. Patrick is the heart of this series. His father, James St. Patrick, has been murdered, and his mother, Tasha, is going on trial for the murder. To gain his father's inheritance, Tariq has to make it through college, which means he has to keep his grades up while still doing assignments for Stansfield University's star basketball player, Ezekiel Cross, aka Zeke, who's intimately involved with Professor Carrie Milgram and happens to be related to the drug lords of Queens, New York, who he introduces Tariq to. Throughout the series, you'll see Tariq juggle these influences while trying to make enough money to pay for his mother's defense with the help of lawyer Davis McLean, who's amazingly portrayed by iconic rapper Method Man. With the twists and turns of Season 1, Tariq learns one thing: the only way to get his family out of this situation is to become more like the man he despises. Next, we have Cooper Saxe, the last man standing from the law enforcement side coming out of Power. And this time, he's the US attorney who intends on making Tasha pay, even if that means bringing Tariq down with her. Now, when it comes to making Tasha pay, one major spoiler alert is the return of Tommy Egan, who played directly into Tariq's final plan to get his mother out of jail. Tasha's testimony that Tommy was the one who killed his best friend and her late ex-husband brought Tommy back into the mix. If you're a fan of Power, you know that Tommy and Tasha have a long history. Also, I'm hearing Tommy has a spin-off series, Power Book 4, Force, which is reportedly set to premiere in 2022. And honestly, it's about time that man got his own show. He's been a fan favorite. Up next, we have Braden Weston of the Rich and Privileged Westons. If you had an auditorium and swimming pool at the university named after you, you'd be untouchable too.
I'm Braden, and that's Trace. Weston.
Shit, Weston like the auditorium?
Yeah, and the swimming pool.
Braden roomed with Tariq back at Choate and is now his roommate at Stansfield, his best friend, and his occasional drug dealer homie through Course Correct, the app they use to deal drugs on campus. Now, one of the interesting things you'll find in a series like Ghost is that through all of Tariq's attempts to be the opposite of his father, he's hastily forming a crew that feels like the St. Patrick organization, with Braden being a Tommy in trading. And when it comes to the ladies, Braden is even linked up with Riley, who not only is giving off major Holly vibes, and we know how that ended up, but she's also Cooper's niece. You can already see where this is going. Another one of Tariq's old Choate classmates, Effie Morales, also made a few appearances during Season 1. Their shared interest in the drug life brings them back together, with the two even hooking up during Season 1. Although Tariq has had his eye on a couple of different women. One of them is Lauren Baldwin, another freshman at Stansfield who is also his primary love interest. Lauren and Tariq got very tight and even messed around while Lauren was in a relationship. Now, out of all of Tariq's love interests, Lauren seems to be the safest option for him, although she can be a little devious. Now, I don't know about you, but Lauren's definitely giving me Angela 2.0. Now on the faculty side at Stansfield, you have Tariq's professor, Jabari Reynolds. Jabari's a writer who is teaching at Stansfield alongside his ex, Professor Milgram. Initially, Jabari was acting as more of a mentor to Tariq, but as he started digging into Tariq's past, their relationship became more sinister and more dangerous. Outside the Stansfield crew, Tariq has a whole new set of associates in his life of crime. Though Lorenzo Tejada heads the Tejada drug cartel, he's currently incarcerated, which leaves his wife Monet Tejada to be the queen pin and make all the moves alongside her children, who all become figures in Tariq's life. Now Monet will stop at nothing to keep the business running, even if it means messing with dirty cops like Officer Ramirez. Monet's daughter Diana is not only in the game, but she's one of the other women that catches Tariq's eye. Drew, the middle child, isn't afraid to put in work, but he'd rather be an artist, like Basquiat. Kane is the oldest of the three, but he's also his mother's right hand. Kane's ruthless, and he doesn't even want Tariq around. Tariq and Kane's beef culminates in the season 1 finale, where Tariq utters some of the coldest lines we've heard in Power history.
It always comes down to me, my family, and the gun.
Now, the problem with Kane and Tariq's relationship is that Kane, who really isn't messing with Tariq, still has to work with him off the strength of his mother and ends up finding out a few secrets along the way, like Tariq admitting that he's the one who killed his father. Nah, for real. He said that.
I killed my own father to protect my mother. You think I won't do whatever it takes to survive?
Tariq's words and actions put an entirely new spin on their relationship. I can only speculate how the murder of Professor Jabari, committed by Tariq, bonds the once rivals. The early looks at season 2 of Ghost show Tariq having to deal with the ramifications of his actions at the end of season 1. Now that situation gets worse when you realize that Jabari's murder ties directly into what Tariq's been doing with the Tejada family.
You sure you had nothing to do with this man's murder?
I had absolutely nothing to do with it. I swear.
Now you know what happens if you're lying, right?
Now, I know my man Tariq is smart, but can he finesse his way out of all of these sticky situations? Kane, on the other hand, still seems to be in a weird place with his own family and Tariq.
I got this under control.
I'm not going down for this. Trust me.
In the trailer, Kane's seen with a new character, Mecca, who's described as being calculated, manipulative, and dangerous. Mecca steps in as the connect that the Tejada family needs, but things could be too good to be true when it comes to him. There are a lot of unanswered questions from season 1, like Diana's place both in the drug game and in Tariq's life. Zeke's relationship with Professor Carey. Is love really blind?
I'm meeting students anonymously. I can come forward on your behalf, protect you.
And what's up with Effie? She downplayed her affection for Tariq in the first season, but during the trailer for season 2, it looks like she's claiming her spot in his life. And what about McLean? He could be around doing literally anything. But with Tasha's situation far from over, we imagine McLean will always be around to help or complicate the situation. And is Tommy coming back for good? Or was that just a pop-up? And other than the rough spot the Tejada drug cartel is in, the teasers that we've seen have just been that, teasers. Now speaking of the Tejada cartel, one theory that's been discussed online is the patriarch of the Tejada family, Lorenzo, could possibly be getting out of prison. It's hard to say for certain if Lorenzo will be a free man during season 2, but this is the Power universe. Anything can happen. Now, before we close out on what season 2 holds for us, I wanted to call out 2 additions to this season. First, Jersey's own, the legendary Red Man has been cast as Theo Rollins, Davis McLean's incarcerated older brother. Now we're gonna get Meth and Red in a Power Universe series where they're not playing Meth and Red. That could literally be anything. Now more importantly, acclaimed actor Lorenz Tate has been added as a series regular. Fans should remember him portraying Councilman Rashad Tate in Power. Tate was James's primary political rival, and by the end of Power, we knew that we'd be seeing more of him. After being seen in season 1 trying to disassociate himself with James altogether, it'll be intriguing to see how this dirty politician changes the game that Tariq is trying to play. During a conversation I had on Complex's Watch Less podcast, Power creator Courtney Kemp spoke on how she used the world building of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a guide to how she should handle her ever-expanding Power universe. And while world building is great, The real joy is what happens within each of these separate books. A series like Ghost is perfect for those of you who took the ride through Power and want to continue the main storyline, while series like Raising Kanan and Force will help flesh out portions of how we got here, as well as what's happening behind the scenes. I say all of this to say, you can truly get lost in the different zones of the Power universe. Now, hopefully this pre-cap has gotten you primed and ready to dive headfirst into Season 2 of Power Book 2, Ghost, premiering on Sunday, November 21st on Starz and the Starz app. We'll see you guys next time for another edition of Complex's The Pre-Cap.